Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everything in Racing. This is a little filler episode that we're doing here because Ernie couldn't show up for this one, and that's perfectly fine.
Slacker.
I know, right? It's like he lives an hour and a half away. That's how he acts.
I know.
You know, just man. But we got a brand new guest on today, Harry Darnell.
This guy.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I called John Doc Turbo John when he came on.
Same thing.
Yeah, yeah. We like Turbo John better anyway. Yeah. Although you don't because you. We'll get into that.
What?
Turbo John.
I ain't got no issues.
You did lose to him on TV.
Well,
so,
that's all right.
You know, well, it hasn't been on TV yet, but as I said, we'll get into that.
I heard that apparently that whole season didn't get sold.
Yeah, it was. They filmed. So what we're talking about here is season 6 of Street Outlaws.
Yeah, which I don't watch it, so like I didn't really care either way. We just knew how much the payout was, but apparently that's when the whole like Discovery thing happened, where something was like, what is it, Pilgrim?
Yeah, some other company bought Discovery.
Yeah, and season didn't get sold or something.
Yeah, and supposedly, Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, all that has been bought by Dana White.
Yeah, I saw
supposedly.
I saw that on Instagram.
You know, so I don't know if that means he got the rights to season 6.
Yeah.
Or if I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how all this stuff works.
But yeah, so honestly, the first time I really did hear about you was Locals Only.
Yeah.
Because I also got into that class.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell of winning because I don't do no prep.
That was right after you messed the car up, right?
3 days after I blew up my
that's
motor.
what I thought.
You know, and so I'd gotten the...
So it's funny you say that. So we'll get into that too, but that's when like my whole like debacle of like the bane of my existence right now started. Mm-hmm. It was like that week.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I blew up the motor, right? We get back here.
They texted you on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, they texted me on Wednesday. Said, "Hey Nate, congratulations, you made it in." And I had to text back and say, "Unfortunately, I blew up my motor."
Yeah.
And they said, "Thank you very much for letting us know." And that was it.
Yeah, I don't know who they put in your place.
I think it was that inked car. Oh
yeah.
She just went up there, blew the tires off every time.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I could have beaten her.
Coleman Heath's cousin.
Oh man! So the guys on the 252 are going to get that list, that joke. You know, but really to start it off here properly, man. What got you into this world of horrible financial decisions, brother?
So it's actually kind of funny. So I've always been into cars, right? So when I was a kid, back in like a long time ago, young kid, I'd hear stories. I'm like, my dad telling me stories about like them street racing. He grew up in Danville, Virginia, which like back then, you know, we're talking like 60s, 70s. Street racing was big. Mm-hmm. Like he'll tell me stories about where they're like standing on the side of the road watching these guys with like 4-speed cars with, you know, big blocks and tunnel ramps with twin dominators and stuff running for like $20,000. So I've always been around cars. And then I started when I got my first car. I got it was an S10 Extreme, right? So like regular cab short bed S10 Extreme, and my family's in body shop business, so this truck was like a total loss, and I fixed it, and I wanted to LS swap it, and my dad wouldn't let me. Because they bought the truck for me, I fixed it, and he wouldn't let me LS swap it because, like, obviously he knew I was dumb, and you know, so
he was doing you a favor.
Yeah, he thought he was. So, anyways, he said that they wouldn't let me do it if I wanted to do something like that. I had to buy my own car. So I was like, all right, well, screw this. I'm not going to LS swap anything. I'm going to get into the import stuff. So then I built a Honda. You know,
which, you know, on the outside looking at it, you're like, oh, that's cheap racing.
Yeah,
right? And then as you find out going into it, it's very expensive racing. It's
very cheap if you're not going fast. And then, like, you know, it just like any kind of racing, you know, it snowballed. And man, I ended up with this Civic that at the time, I mean, it was competitive, but like, man, I didn't have no money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was at the time probably early 20s, and like don't get me wrong, like I made good money, but I was dumb. So
Yeah.
like I just bought stupid stuff, and
So
like
you're saying you were in your early 20s?
I was basically me, but like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, you.
So yeah, it just kind of snowballed, man, and it got to the point where like just like any type of racing, that there's always somebody else out there with more money, or with whether it's sponsors or they just better position in life, whatever it is. And I just couldn't afford to run with the caliber of cars that were there at the time. So I decided I was going to sell it and build a Mustang, and sold a car and started building a Fox body, just like everybody does. And never.
I'm going to be original.
Yep.
LS swapped
Yep,
Fox
let
body.
me LS swap this Fox body.
I'm going to put a 5.3
Yep.
in a Fox body.
So I never finished that, and then I sold it and got like heavy into like the regular cab short bed Silverados and Sierras and stuff. And I built this like, it was a 03. I bought this truck like sight unseen. It was like a unicorn truck from, I think it was Philadelphia. I flew out there. I wired the guy the money and bought this truck. It was a regular cab short bed 5.3, all power options, 5-speed Silverado. And that snowballed too, and ended up being like a 800 horsepower stick shift. Had a like faceplated T56 Liberty trans in it.
Damn.
It was like my daily driver, and I had a guy tuning it for me, and he would blow it up every time I put a motor in it. And so I got tired of that, and like that was, man, I don't know, probably close to like 8 years ago, if I had to guess.
Okay.
And then that kind of like led me into like the tuning side of it, and like I got tired of paying somebody to tune stuff for me, and I just started trying to like figure it out, and blew a couple of motors up by myself.
Yeah.
and it just kind of snowballed from there, man. I got, you start street racing and doing some dumb stuff, and you get caught, and then you realize that life happens. I ended up with a my ex was pregnant, and needed to make smarter decisions. So
it's funny how kids will do that for you really quick. You're going to be like, oh, this is kind of dumb what I'm doing.
I know. And you don't really think about stuff before you have kids, because you before you have kids, like the only person you got to worry about is yourself. And obviously this, you've got kids, so that kind of snowballed, and I ended up going through a pretty what's the right word? Pretty horrible situation with my daughter's mom, and lost everything I had. We weren't married, but she basically took my daughter when she was 2 weeks old, and I just bought my first house I don't know, I guess like late 20s. My daughter's 6.5 now, so but I had the truck, had a AMG E55 Mercedes. That was my daily driver, and I lost it all. Like she took my daughter, and I had to sell everything to be able to afford an attorney to see my daughter. And so I went through that for 9 months, and that was pretty bad. That was rough. But ended up 50-50 custody of my daughter, and then kind of started back racing again with a friend of mine, Tim Coley. He's got a old like S10 Blazer, like round body S10 Blazer.
Okay.
That I had built him a turbo kit, and I ended up driving the thing for him, and we just we hit it off, worked well together, and that's when racing like really took off for me. As a kid, I wanted to go into the military. Like I always liked cars, but like I was like, man, I was obsessed with like military, like snipers, like just long range shooting, and like obsessed with it.
Oh yeah.
But then at that point, you've got multiple hobbies, like whether it's guns or racing or whatever, and then a kid, your kids come into the picture, and then like the military thing kind of just goes out the window for me because I don't want to go without seeing my kids.
You have to. It's not you have to. You're going to be gone for at least 9 months at a time.
Yeah.
And like you don't get a choice about it, buddy.
No,
you signed up for it, so
yep.
You hop on that plane and you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. It probably would have been different. Like my life probably would have panned out differently had we been together, and it wasn't one of those situations where I had to fight so hard to even be a father.
Mm-hmm.
But that's life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Barry decided not to because kid was in the picture.
Yeah, and still to this day, it's still always in the back of my mind. But yeah, man, the racing thing is just something that some people. I've had this conversation. I think me and Shannon have talked about this before, but some people race as a hobby. You know what I mean? There's hobby racers out there that man, they don't have a problem showing up to the track every weekend, and they never. Not that it's all about winning all the time, but they never win anything, but they also never get discouraged to the point to where they're going to quit racing. They're just there for fun.
Yeah, if they get knocked out first round, they're like, oh, okay. Whatever.
They don't care.
Whereas you and me, we get knocked out first round. I'm pissed.
Yeah, we, and don't get me wrong, that's racing. You know what I mean? You're not going to win every race. You can have the fast car on a property, and shit happens, right?
I mean, yesterday was a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
The king of the 252.
Yep.
Shannon spun the tires.
Yep. And like Chase called me last night, and same thing happened with Chase. But like we always say, I mean that's racing. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. But I've never really been a hobbyist racer. You know what I mean? I don't find joy in showing up and racing for second place.
No.
But there's some people out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. They ain't got no problem with it. They like to show up and race, and they have a good time, and they're there for the fun and the camaraderie, and seeing their friends and all of that stuff. And man, that's awesome. But man, if I can't be competitive, I'm not gonna race.
The only ones I don't mind losing is when it's close.
Yeah.
Right. You both of you nail the tree together, and both cars are pushing as hard as they can.
And then just like yesterday, Shannon and Chase would tell you the same thing. They don't have a problem losing, because it's just part of what we're doing here, right? But nobody wants to lose that way.
No one wants to beat themselves.
I would rather be outrun than just stupid mistake or last night the air got. I wasn't there. I had surgery Friday, but I know the air got really good, really fast, and man, when you're talking about these types of cars and trying to go that fast, I mean, when air comes to them that quick, especially on a turbo car, that's all it takes.
Well, an OBX can be that way too, because it's right there on the coast.
Yeah,
it got me that way 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we had a tune-up in it, and it was like a 550 tune-up in the car, and it was really good.
And the time frame from just sitting in the staging lanes to the time you get to the starting line, the air can literally change that fast.
Someone oiled down the track, so of course stopped everything.
Yep.
45 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
By the time we got out there, it dropped 20 degrees.
Yep.
And the air was so much better, just blew the tires off.
Yep. It happens.
But
that's that's racing, right?
That is racing. And but it led to us making a couple changes on the car that fixed that problem.
Right. Yeah.
There was no way for me in the car to change the tune on the fly. It was whatever we chose back at the trailer was what it was.
Well,
yeah.
Fuel Tech can fix that.
Yes. I might bleep that. Yeah. Yeah. So I do know that you are a big Hollyphile, though.
Yeah.
You and the whole young group.
Well, I'm not really part of that whole deal anymore. But
okay.
Yeah. So I'm really familiar. Holly is so user friendly, right? So I'm dumb. Okay, anybody will tell you I'm pretty fucking retarded.
Do you mind if I clip that and put that in the group
Absolutely.
chat? Okay.
I'm pretty retarded, right? But Holly is it's so user friendly that like I think my 6-year-old could probably use it. Fuel Tech and like some of the other ones, like just the way that you have to do certain things, it's not that easy.
I hear pretty good things about Haul Tech as well.
Yeah, I've never used it, but
I
never
think
heard
I've seen one car in this area with it.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I've never heard anybody have anything bad to say about it. But I'd like to try it one day.
Yeah, I think what ends up happening a lot of times is you get like regions of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the reason a lot of guys in this area use Holly is because everybody else
out here is Holly.
Yeah, and so if you have a broken part, there's a good chance somebody else has it.
Yeah, like 9 times out of 10, if you're at the track and like you have a Holly issue, you can pretty much go to like, if you got a turbo car in this area, you can go to anybody's trailer and they're probably going to have something, right? But if you've got a car on Fuel Tech, you're probably not going to find somebody.
Yeah, there might be two.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They're probably a different platform than you. So.
Yeah. But yeah, Holly's just like, it's so universal now. But, yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying a little bit earlier, you know, that you're working on a couple cars right now, or?
Yeah. So I got, obviously my car. I got a couple of customer cars. I do fab work and stuff.
So tell everyone about your current car, because I don't think we ever got up to what the current car is.
So there's like a whole story about this car. So
there's going to be a picture of it.
Yeah,
like right here.
if you want to, if you want to do like clip the car in there. But so this car, so like I said before, my dad growing up was big into street racing, right? So he went to jail. Like he did time back then. Like it was a thing to do time on the county farm or the city farm, right? So he was on like a work release program where he would work Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends he would spend his weekends on the city farm because he got arrested for street racing.
Yeah.
And
community service, basically.
Yeah. So after that, he obviously my dad's a lot older now, but he had gotten away from cars, and like he's always been in the automotive industry, so he's a body shop manager, but he was bass fishing, like really good bass fisherman, and just kind of got out of the car thing. And so when I was probably like, I'm gonna say maybe 8 years old, my dad hired a mechanic that had a Pro Street Ford Falcon. It had a big block Ford in it. And just immediately my dad was like right back into cars. And he bought a 69 Camaro that was Pro Street car. It had a small block in it. And we ended up selling the small block out of it and put a big block in the car. And he decided he wanted a Nova. So the car that I currently have, me and him drug it out of a field. When I was somewhere around like 8 to 10 years old. Like it was so long ago. Back then we lived on the lake. Our house flooded, so like we actually lost a lot of these pictures. But like all the build pictures of this car were on floppy disks. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's like how long ago it was. But yeah, so me and my dad, like we started building this car, and we worked on it for years, man. It was like the car was in decent shape, but it needed quarters on it. And when I say we drug it out of field, it was literally sitting in a field when we picked this car up. And so it's a back half car, and it's got new quarters on it. We put new floor in it, and
I was about to say floor pans probably were.
Yeah, we put one piece floor pan in the car and back halved it and everything. And like I said, man, I was probably like, I don't know, like 8 to 10 years old. So where all of the other like 8 to 10-year-old kids they just wanted to go and like hang out with their friends and stuff. I didn't give a shit about that. Every weekend I wanted to go to the shop and work on this car with my dad. So that's what I did. So like I can still remember being a kid, and this car was done on a rotisserie. So if anybody ever sees the car at the track, if you look underneath the car, the entire bottom of the car is painted and like just as nice as the outside.
Nice.
So
and
like,
look, compliments. It does look really good.
Yeah,
like,
I appreciate it. I mean, it's not really finished. Like it hasn't been sanded and buffed or anything yet, but like you can get an idea how nice the car is.
Yeah.
But like I still have like vivid memories of this car being on a rotisserie on its side, like my fingers hurting so bad from just like sanding primer underneath the car where we were trying to do all the body work on the bottom side of the car. But so this car, man, we worked on it for years, and my dad ended up taking a job managing Rick Hendrick Collision Center in Durham, and the car was there. And my dad ended up having a stroke while he was working on the car. And it wasn't long after that he left. My family bought a body shop, and we worked on the car, but we kind of stopped on this to build another car, which we still have. So the car actually looks identical to it. It was bought out of Las Vegas, so it was an original rust-free car. And me and my dad, we restored that car. It took about 2 years. Same deal. It was restored on a rotisserie, but it was like, it's not to the caliber of this car that I have. It's still extremely nice, but it's more of a driver. And man, when we stopped to build that car, this car had been sitting ever since. So it's been sitting for, it was a roller, but it has probably been sitting for 10 or 12 years in my dad's shop. And most people probably know me for the Fairmont that I had. I had a Fairmont wagon, and I had been racing that car. And man, I had an engine built for the car by a guy, and it was a shit show. Like, the guy that built the motor, he kind of screwed me over on it, and carried it back to him multiple times, and just nothing but problems.
Individual or a shop?
Works for himself.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna, no. I ain't trying to shit on
No.
nobody.
No. There's
But
a particular shop that I'm not particularly happy with engine work. And some people absolutely love, like, it seems like there's some people absolutely love them, and then everybody else hates them.
Yeah, and that's with anything though. Like, one thing about especially the racing industry, man, is like, man, you might have 10 people over here that have nothing but great things to say about, Joe Blow, right? And then there's like 10 people over here that have nothing but bad things to say about them. That's the industry. There's good experiences, bad experience, and it's no different than a restaurant. Yeah. I mean, you could go eat at, wherever and have a great meal, and then somebody could walk in right behind us and it could be shit.
I think what the racing industry especially needs a little bit more of is just like, I don't want to say that they're all liars, because they're not. They just need to be like upright, honest about
more upfront,
more upfront about timelines, about costs, and about like what do you actually have in stock and what do you need to order.
And that's another thing too with this like, I'm not obviously I hate politics, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm not going to like go down that road, but like with the current climate of the country, like new parts is a major issue. Like there's people out here, like David Woodside had a customer's car that was finished that he built. I'm not sure if the white
that white Mustang.
Yeah, the guy was waiting like a year and a half for the motor. They were waiting on rods or something for it. Like, so parts is like a major issue, but obviously as a business owner, whether it's like a engine builder or a chassis guy or anything, you want to give these like realistic expectations, but then, you might drop your car off this week, and then in 2 weeks, as an engine builder, you might have 10 engines come in. So like, they kind of get flustered with like, I guess, timelines on trying to get all of this stuff done. And, like you said though, like you got to be more upfront about it.
I mean, so I'm a plumber.
Right.
That's what I do. I'm busy all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah, everybody be shitting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm never going out of business as far as that goes, unless I'm just shit at my job.
Yeah.
But like, my thing is like, so I always tell everybody, unless you're my number one job of the day, I can't guarantee what time I'm going to show up.
Right.
But what I will tell you is how many jobs I have between me and you.
Right.
Right. If that's 3 jobs, if that's 4 jobs, right? And then I will call you when I'm on the way.
Right.
I kind of wish shops would do that. Go, okay, hey, look, I have 5 jobs between where I'm at right now and your job. And when I start on your job, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to send you updates.
Yeah, so like I do fab work on the side too, right? So and like one thing
I've seen some of your work that you've done on Billy's car.
So like one thing that I always deal with, which that's actually how me and Billy met, which funny story if we get Billy on here. I've never told Billy this.
Billy,
but
get on.
I'm gonna wait to tell this until Billy gets on here. But when I'm doing fab work for people, like I always tell them, like, hey, look, I work a full-time job. You know, I'm a single father of 2 kids. I'm not touching your car while my kids are here. I can give you an idea of when I can get it done. If you want me to do the car, I'm glad to do it, but my kids come first, right? And like that's something that I wasn't always good about that. It's kind of, you know, my situation right now, that's a big part of it, but I wasn't always good with prioritizing my kids over work or over racing, you know, and it's a tough thing to try to come back from when your kids are young. You know what I mean? Because like there's like Jordan, you know Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
So Jordan Peterson,
I love that dude.
you know, he did this speech where he's talking about kids. You know, you only have a few years of little kids being little kids, man, and like so much happens when your kids are that like, you know, like
malleable.
Yeah, and like I missed a lot of that stuff, you know, and it's my own fault as far as my son goes. With my daughter, you know, that situation was a bit different back then, where I just didn't get to see her because of her mom. But you know, now if somebody brings a car to me, I tell them like, hey, like my kids are gonna come first. You know, when it's my long week with my kids, I'm not working on your car. I'm not working on my car. You know, sometimes if I need to work on my car, man, I typically every weekend that I have my kids, I'll spend some time with my parents. My dad's getting a bit older, so I try to make sure that my parents see my kids every single week. But I typically don't even work on my own stuff when I have them. And here over the past, like, I don't know, man, probably 6 months, like, nobody's really seen me at the racetrack much. Like if I have just so happens like most of the races fall when I have my kids. Like I don't go. I just don't race. You know.
Well, that's why we set up the podcast for the time.
Yeah,
that we did,
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's a weekend that you don't have your kids.
Yeah, and like you know, it's also to do with my current like you know custody battle I'm going through. But my daughter, like both of my kids, man, they love being at the racetrack. But it's difficult as a single father with 2 kids to go race. You know, like I've got 2 kids with me, and like if my parents aren't free, I don't have anybody to keep an eye on my kids while we're racing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't even if I have customers' cars come in, like I don't touch them when I've got my kids. My kids, like my son likes to go out there and look at them because he loves race cars. But,
Oh yeah.
you know, other than that,
Well, it's we weren't planning on going to Galat the other night.
yeah.
And I got home from work and I got Rosie up from her nap, right? And I was tired. And so like I lay down in bed and I'm playing with her a little bit, and she's jumping on my chest going car,
Yeah.
car. I'm like, somehow you know it's Thursday, kid. I'm like, all right, fine, we're going to the racetrack and bundle her up. And
that sounds like my son. Like a lot of times, like my car's sitting in the garage when I'm not racing. It's typically in my garage on jacks, but my son, man, he'll want to go out there and just start it. So he goes out there, he'll jump in. I'll put him in the car, and he knows, like, you know, I got to remind him, but he'll be in there just sitting there trying to start the car and playing. And he'll sit there and do that for like an hour, dude.
Don't run the battery down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's at the age now. She's almost 2, so like she wants to be around me all the time. You know, she wants me to hand her tools in the garage, which I love doing. Problem is, she thinks every tool's a hammer. And everything needs to be hammered on. And I'm like, that can be hammered on. The finish of the car.
Look, when my daughter was like, I don't know, man, she was probably like 3 years old. I was doing a turbo kit on a car over at my dad's shop, and Eric Gold had actually come over to look at. I think he was going to tune the car, and he was looking at something on it for the guy, and man, I turned around for like a split second while me and Eric were talking, and my daughter had picked up a rock and she's like drawing her name on the bumper of my car, which like this was just it was like a Kia Optima. It was my daily driver at the time, but like kids, they don't know.
Yeah, she doesn't know. I have an adorable picture of her holding a ratcheting wrench. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's so cute." I'm like, "Yeah, you didn't see what she did 5 seconds later when she looked over the car and went."
Yeah, it's but you know, you gotta love them.
You gotta love them,
right?
Now, okay. So here's a question for you: if either of your kids go, we want a junior dragster, we want to go racing, you gonna do it?
So I've actually talked to my daughter about that. So I have a friend of mine, you know, Tony Quinn.
Name is familiar. I think I've met him.
Yeah. So Tony's brother Hank, I built a turbo kit for him, and his kid has a junior dragster, and we were over there one day, and he tried so hard to get Emma. Emma's 6 now. At the time, I think she was like 4 or 5 years old. She would not get in it, like absolutely would not. So, but she loves going to the racetrack. So I think she may want one, but if she ends up wanting to, or either one of my kids, I'm gonna build them one. Yeah, like I'll build a dragster for him.
We've just got to figure out a way to build one where the exhaust isn't the most annoying thing in the world. Because, like, oh my gosh, like, it's like they're purpose made to have that like tone that's just like pop, 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 pop. And
like ear piercing.
Ear piercing,
yeah.
You know. And like the tone doesn't change the entire way down the track.
No, it's just there.
It's just there. It's like, I'm like, yeah. I did ask. I had Willie Toller on.
Yeah. So Willie actually had when we were at where were we at? We were at OBX, and Willie and Blake let my son get in Blake's dragster while they were warming it up, and like, dude, I got a picture of my son's just like, dude, he's
biggest
just,
shit-eating grin.
Yeah. Like he was that was it for him.
Yeah.
There's no question he's gonna want a dragster.
I did ask them. I was like, what is worse though? Soccer parents or junior dragster parents? And they're like, junior dragster parents, hands down.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because like, you know, like among us, like, you know, if we get into an argument, it's about 3 seconds long.
Yeah.
You know, we yell at each other for a couple seconds, you know,
right.
F you, and then and then we're done, right? You know, and then whoever wins the next round, clearly that was the guy that was right.
Yeah.
You know, but like,
I could be completely wrong about this, but like, dude, I could care less about sports. Like, none of it. I played football a little bit when I was younger, but like, dude, I
mean, right now I'm rooting for whichever team is beating the Yankees, which I think is the Dodgers, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure it's the Dodgers in the World Series with the Yankees. You know, I grew up in New England, so I'm a Red Sox fan. So I root for the Red Sox and anyone who beats the Yankees.
Yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, I mean, ever since I got into drag racing, it's like all the other
it just like consumes you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like it's almost you almost feel bad for your kids because like, man, there's all these kids out. Like I work with a guy who's his kids play ball and they play baseball, and like, man, like they're traveling every weekend, and like he coaches a team, and they're like one of the best teams in the state, and it's like, man, that's great, but I really want my kids to be in race cars instead.
Did you see? Do you follow Pete Harrell on Facebook?
Yeah.
Did you see the meme he posted the other day? It's the drawing of the guy standing in the corner of the party, and it goes, "Nobody here knows I have a 7-bar map sensor."
Yeah.
Like,
see, and that's me because like, dude, anywhere I go, man, like I have nothing in common with these people. Like you go to like even in like high school, man, like, you know, in high school, man, everybody's having parties and shit, and like I think I went to like 1 or 2 parties when I was in high school, and like it was the dumbest fucking thing that I'd ever been around because I could care less about any of the shit these people are doing. They're all like, everybody wants to be drinking and partying and, you know, fucking each other's girlfriends or whatever they do. But like, I'm like, man, I gotta race. I want to go race.
Yeah, I gotta work on the race car.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We all grow up different, you know. We got different hobbies and stuff. Mine was just never anything like that.
yeah. I mean, I get that 100%.
Yeah,
just like, it's deep down, I just want more horsepower.
Yeah,
that's you know.
Which, I mean, you know, with kids, man, it's different because, you know, if my kids end up deciding that they want to play like soccer or, you know, basketball or whatever, I'm all for it. You know, I'll just have to, you know, figure it out. Like I don't know how they score any of this stuff.
Yeah,
really.
well, I guess we're gonna learn all about soccer now. Do sports.
Yeah. But we kind of like went off topic there. But as far as the car goes, though, the wagon and all that, I had the issue with the motor or whatever, and it got to the point to where, like, man, at the time, like, I worked my ass off just to try to keep this motor together, and it just got to the point to where, like, after that we started having issues with Holly, and it was just like crazy issues that we could not figure out, and it just burned me out. And I ended up selling the car rolling after me and my dad had a conversation about my current car, that he gave the car to me, and but one of the stipulations was that I couldn't street race the car, which, like, I don't know, man. I still love being in the street, but he gave me the car, and I put this car together with basically all the stuff that I had in the wagon, along with whatever else I bought to get it where it's at now. But that's kind of how this car kind of came to. But this car it's like it's got so much sentimental value that, like, everybody always says everything's got a price tag, but, like, this is one thing that there's never going to get sold.
I mean, that's how it is for me with emotional damage.
Yeah.
Like my car.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's a 2015 Mustang. They made 1 million of them.
Yeah.
Unless the car, like, literally burns to the ground and is not savable, I'm never planning on selling that car.
Yeah.
I made a joke with one guy one time. He asked if he could buy it. I told him $75,000, and he goes, "Okay, I'll go get it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No."
Yeah. I was just kidding.
I was just kidding. I was like, nah, I can't sell her.
Yeah.
She's mine.
Yeah.
And it's a stupid GT black Mustang, but I love it.
Yeah. Like mine, man. Like, there's just so many, like, memories, and I think it would be different if it was like a car that, like, like my dad had bought that was most of the way done and we finished it or whatever. But, like, man, we literally built, like, this car start to finish, and it's just one of those things, man. Like, this car will end up getting passed down to one of my kids.
Well, there's something about having a really, like, nice looking car as well. I don't understand guys that are like, oh, like, they're fine with it showing up with, like, Bondo still showing, and, like, the paint
man, I was
crap.
like that. I didn't give a shit as long as it was fast. I don't care about the rest of it. Like, all that stuff don't make the car fast. So
I know it doesn't make the car fast, but for me, it has to look good.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, my car's always clean.
Yeah.
When it's at the track, it's always clean. I did race it wrecked one time.
Yeah.
I wrecked it down in Myrtle Beach.
You're welcome to No Prep.
Yeah. I got caught in a rainstorm on ET Street R's.
Right.
That'll do it to you.
Fun times.
But it was all cosmetic.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was doing a 252 season at that time.
Right.
I called Braxton. I was like, hey, it's just cosmetic damage to the car. Can I run in the next race? And he goes, we're going to have you do a test pass by yourself.
Yeah, make sure nothing flies off.
If anything flies off the car, you're out. Yeah. If nothing flies off the car, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I did my PB on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
That headlight that fell out was a little bit of weight.
Yeah, I know, right? I just you saw the door down there on the wall. I just put a Cash App sticker in the middle of it, center down
put
the
a
track.
big ass Band-Aid sticker over it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess kind of what's your plans moving forward with the car? Like, what are you? Do you do more class racing, grudge racing? Like, what's your goal for the car?
I don't really know, man. So, like, my wagon, when I had the wagon, I pretty much, like, I primarily, like, just did no prep stuff, right? And that car wasn't, like, extremely nice. Like, I threw the car together. Like, I didn't care about, like, how it looked. I mean, it was a 84 Ford Fairmont. You know what I mean? Like,
it got from point A to point B.
Yeah, and
quickly.
the car worked really well. Like, the car worked anywhere we went. Like, it would go A to B pretty much anywhere. So it was also a car that, like, if we were at a no prep race and something happened to it, it was like kind of, no big deal. This car's a bit different. So, I'm still fighting like the new car bugs. Like, we're still dealing with some issues with it, but, I'll probably just do, like, I'll run limited at Braxton's race, the stock block stuff. I'm probably going to do some front side no prep stuff with it, because the car, like, as far as like weight and the way the car biased out and everything, the car will work pretty much anywhere. And I think I'm going to run some of the like faster backside no prep stuff too.
Okay. The digger die kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Which they're coming on in the podcast here pretty soon.
Are they?
Yeah, the guys running it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'll actually, I'm going to be at the Christmas race with it.
Nice.
But I don't know, man. I really want to do a turbo big block combo in it. But with the divorce and custody stuff I'm going through right now, it's just like kind of not in the cards. But
well, you're putting first priorities first.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. This the thing with the car is, like, it's one of those deals where, like, I actually had started building another car years ago. Still have it. I built the whole main floor structure of the chassis is built, and the cage is all there. I was actually building a 25-1 chassis car. This car is too nice to cut up. So, like, if it gets to when it gets to the point to where it's too heavy to be able to compete with like cars that are 600-700 pounds lighter, then I may finish the other car, but I'll never cut this car up, right? So, like, this car, it's still got a factory subframe in it. So, like, I could probably get 150, 175 pounds off the nose of the car if I built a subframe for it. But as far as, like, cutting the floor out of it and building a floor structure and putting carbon interior and all of that stuff, and I'll never do that to this car. It's just too nice to cut up.
Yeah.
If it gets to that point, man, I'll probably end up putting a radiator and, a set of like Bosch 210s in it and put it on the 85 and drive it on the street and finish the other car. It's just too nice to cut up.
Yeah.
But like, as the car sits right now, once I kind of get the stuff figured out, it's competitive. Like, it's, we exploded a turbo at the 330 at Galat, like, I guess it's been about a month ago, and it's still, like, it was still fast. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll probably snowball.
Yeah. Stuff usually goes its fastest right before it lets go.
Yeah.
Which
that's the bad thing, is, like, it wasn't really, like, all that fast early, but it still ran a decent number. I really want to do a big block deal in it. Right now, there's no rules against it as long as it's stock block. But nobody's done a stock block, big block turbo combo in Braxton's race yet in limited. So I don't want to go through all of the selling it and doing because I've got, like, we've got the stuff to do it.
So I guess here's the thing, how that works. Once he's come out with the rules at the beginning of the season and the first race has happened, he won't change the rules. Like, he is held to the rules, right? The next year he'll change stuff on it. I've been a recipient of the.
I'll say this:
of the Braxton changes rules to screw over somebody.
I'll say this: at the way the rules are right now, I could do what I wanted to. I could put a big block combo in the car. I don't know if I'm going to, just because it puts like 200 more pounds of nose weight on the front, or actually about 300. Which, the way the car biases out right now, wouldn't hurt it all that bad, but I don't really want to.
But you'd be needed to make a lot more power to overcome that.
Yeah, it would.
It would.
But at the same time, like, man, the way the new LT stuff is, like, man, you could build a reliable 2,500 horsepower L8T deal.
Yeah,
and it's only 100 pounds heavier than a stock block like LC9 deal.
Yeah, Doug Cook just did a 6-second quarter mile in his Nova with an LT.
Yep.
I think it's a billet block though.
Yeah, it's a aluminum block deal now. But still, I mean, he still went like, I want to say he still went like 7.0s with it with the L8T.
Yeah.
And that car is also a car's a lot heavier than mine is.
That's a pretty car too.
Yeah.
They did a good job on it.
That car's like right at 3,200 pounds or something, I think.
Yeah.
Which it's all steel, all glass, and
we were doing some napkin math the other day on the car because that's an event I plan on doing, the FL2K, and World Cup Finals and all that stuff. And we're like, oh yeah, if we end up where we want to with the car, we're going to end up in that same class with like Doug Cook and Jim Braun and all of them. Luckily, Brett LaSalle has been kicked out to the faster class. That thing is nuts.
I know.
That car is nuts.
Fucking pro mods.
I know, right? With a pro mod with a 302.
I know.
Just like, holy crap. It is funny, because I have guys on here that are like, LS everything. No. It's the greatest thing. And I'm like, it's not rocket.
Listen, when we were going through all this stuff with like my old motor, me and Shana were talking. I was like, man, I swear to God, I'm going to sell all of this LS shit and put a small block Ford in this thing. And I talk shit to Shannon about small block Fords like all the time.
Yeah.
I don't really care what it is as long as it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much experience with Shannon. The only thing I know of Shannon is anything John Dock has said on the channel.
Yeah.
And the group chat.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I know about him, And so my only impression of him is like, man, this guy is has got a pretty high opinion of himself, but so do all of us. But
the thing is though, man, like what people,
Shannon, that wasn't a dig. That's all I see.
that stuff like that doesn't come from nowhere, right? Like,
that Camaro's fast.
Yeah, like I don't know if people grasp how fast that car is and like how fast it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know how fast it's been, and like I know how conservative it was to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it could be fast.
Yeah,
like, really fast. But
is he ever going to corner John Dock and make a pass against him? Because I mean, Slick Rick keeps having problems after problem after problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't really talked to John much lately. I've just had too much of my own personal shit going on.
And that's understandable, man. That is 100% understandable. Yeah. So let's dig in a little bit to Street Outlaws and that whole locals only thing. So how'd you end up? So you were driving the Datsun.
Yeah.
How'd that end up coming about?
When it all actually came out, I still had my wagon, and so like I actually sold the wagon in the midst of like that, and I was planning on having my car done, and then Shannon actually sent me a listing, like a Facebook Marketplace listing of the Datsun. He was like, tell me not to do it. And I was like, let's leave tomorrow and go get it. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, we left tomorrow and went and got it.
Yeah.
So we ended up putting the car together or whatever. And the MPK thing was like not really something that like I had my eyes on, but it was like, just they were, I think, man, you could win like, I think it was like $10,000 if you win the whole deal.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it was free
like
entry.
5 and 5. Yeah, it didn't cost us a dime.
Didn't cost you anything to get in. You just had to email and like audition, basically.
Yeah. So like I sent them, a video or whatever, and like I was gonna do it with my car, and then like all of the, my personal shit kind of fell apart, and we had the Datsun, and like hindsight's 2020. We talk about this at the track. Like, man, Friday when we went there, we had like I think John would probably even tell you, like Friday when we went there, we had the car to beat. Like the numbers we ran Friday, we had we were good.
Oh yeah, I mean, you told me straight up at the track, you're like, you wouldn't have stood a chance, and I was like, I never planned on having a chance.
Man, we like for what we did, we didn't even honestly we didn't expect it to go that fast. But like Friday, like man, we had some shit on it, and it worked. Mm-hmm. And then like the weather happened. I think it rained Friday, didn't it?
It rained Saturday.
That's what it was. It rained Saturday, and we raced Sunday. Yeah. So it rained.
All the track data from Friday was
man, it was all trash.
Useless.
And like then after Sunday happened, we hindsight's 2020. We wished we would have brought Bloodbath on 28s. because we
the Fox body one.
Yeah, so we had taken bloodbath to Darlington, not long before the MPK thing to go run. I can't remember whose race it was, but I think it was Bear and Courtney they were doing front side on a Friday and backside on Saturday. And like, I shook the car down and like, dude, it was fast. Like, but you know, we ended up going to the finals with John, on Sunday, and we negotiated our way into a pretty good pot. So we ended up getting, I don't remember what we ended up walking away with, but we ended up getting a portion of the original 5K and the 5K from when John had to race Justin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I always struggle with the split. Right. Sometimes I agree on a split.
Here's the thing about the split. I don't agree with like negotiating a split like when you show up to the track. I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
Right. But like the thing about a split, man, is like every time you say no to a split, you lose.
Yeah. My problem, I don't like being strong armed into a split.
Yeah.
Like that, I've split twice and I've refused to split twice.
Yeah.
And both times I refused, it was because I was being strong armed.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, I mean, one of them was, hey, if you don't split, I'm going to protest your car because you don't have this one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're already past round one.
You can't protest it at the end of the race.
You can't protest it at the end because that just seems like you're afraid of losing.
Yeah.
Which, I'll be honest, he was.
Yeah.
I had the car to beat, you know, and then I snapped an axle. So
yeah. But that's racing, right? Like
that's racing. Well, he didn't even make it to the finals anyway.
Yeah.
He was second round.
I mean, the whole split thing's weird. Like, man, we've shown up certain races and like, man, you hear people, you'll go through like first round and then they're talking about like, let's split the money up. Like, I don't really think there should be a split talked about until you're in like the semifinals. Yeah. But that's just me.
Well, the whole reason I got John Dock on here was because I was talking shit about him.
Yeah.
Because we had that first 28s race at Galat this year.
Yeah.
Which is the new thing they've been doing now on Thursday nights.
Yeah. So I don't know that thing fell apart or something.
They're doing another one next month.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. So
I was wondering about that.
He was going to have another one that turned into a Galat. The Braxton took over that 28s one.
Yeah.
And then we're having another one November 8th and 9th called the No Time Hustle. I'm actually hosting a class for that one.
Okay.
It's a more streetcar-based class.
What, 2 weeks?
It's in 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Yeah. It's a more of a streetcar-based class. It's a heavier cars, and you have to have DOT-rated tires, 3,700 pounds with driver. It has to be able to do a street cruise, and registered and insured.
Yeah.
And then no other rules other than that. I don't have a power rule. I don't have a transmission rule. I don't even have a tire size rule.
Is there going to be like anything on 28's class too?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, he'll have that class. But so the first one that they did, it got down to 5 cars, right? And when John Dock went down in Slick Rick, he let out a bunch of smoke, right? We all saw it let out a bunch of smoke, right? And it was getting kind of late, and so John and 2 other guys, so we all got called back up for the next round, and I was with the Black Mustang, Black Mustang.
Yep.
So we get called up for 3rd round. We show up with the Black Mustang. Josie showed up with his black S10. John Dock doesn't show up, and the 2 other guys didn't show up. And all of a sudden, one of those guys comes up on a golf cart and says, "Hey, we all talked. We agreed we're going to split." And it was Forrest Kennedy.
Yeah.
And we're like, we all talked and we agreed we're going to split. Like, we're up here. We weren't part of this conversation, right? And he didn't talk to us. He went to the track officials to say that, right? And because like basically we're only going to get one more round in. It was it was going to get down
like
to 3
curfew or whatever, right?
Yeah, and so we were kind of like strong armed into agreeing to the split. Turns out, John Dock had hurt a motor, right? Forrest Kennedy couldn't get his car cooled down enough to start. and the other guy had
sounds like they did smart negotiating to me.
Yeah, and the other guy had hurt his transmission, right?
Yeah.
So they weren't going to make the next
Hell
round
yeah,
anyway.
They banded together.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all.
Yeah, yeah. And so I went into the group chat and was like, and I can't remember, it was something I said, where Braxton was talking about a split or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I just don't think that you should split when your car is broke.
Yeah.
Pretend that it's not. And John was like,
yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was getting so pissed at me. And he was messaging me privately, pissed at me. And I was like, did I say anything that was factually incorrect? And he's like, no, but you're misrepresenting. I was like, no, I'm not. Because that would be incorrect. I am presenting it exactly how we all saw it.
Right.
How we all saw it. And like your next video you posted on your YouTube channel is, we're pulling the motor out. The headers are broken. We're having a problem with the motor because it had made 0 oil pressure.
All right.
Right. So I'm like, that sure looks like a broken motor to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try not to keep up with the drama.
Yeah.
I got too much of it in my own life.
it just got me to laugh. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't like, if I'm broken, I just go tell everybody my car's broken. Like, hey guys, sorry, I can't make next round.
See,
my car's broken.
I get lucky. My shit usually breaks before first round.
Yeah, hopefully before you've paid your entry fee.
Yeah. Nah, Braxton did me a solid when I went to I put the new turbo on the car and went to Braxton's race at Galat. Mm-hmm. And dude is like such a freak thing. This is my luck. So I showed up. I was extremely late. I can't remember what it was.
I remember watching you pull up.
Yeah, I got there late. Like I didn't think I was gonna make it. And man, like, so my steering wheel. So you familiar with J.R. Parker Speed?
Yep.
So Parker sponsored me. He's been on board with me since I built my wagon, and
should probably get him on here at some point.
So he's like, man, he's good as they come. He had sent me a steering wheel. He partnered with I can't remember who it was, but sent me one of his steering wheels, man. And like, they're really nice. But when I put the steering wheel in the car, I put a Biondo, whatever, trans brake button in it, like one of the quick release deals. Well, the contacts on the back where you put your wiring, they're open. I set the steering wheel down and it blew the fuse for the trans brake, and we didn't know it. So like, my car, it won't back up or anything with that trans brake.
Oh, the trans brake, yeah.
Yeah. So go up there to do the burnout, and I went to go stage the car, or I did the burnout and went to go back up, and the car wouldn't back up. So we pulled the car back or whatever. And so like when Sean wired my car, my car's got 2 buttons on the steering wheel, and it's got a trans brake button on the shifter also. Mm-hmm. So the buttons on the steering wheel, we wire them with the same connector. That way, if you had something happen with the button, you can just switch them. Mm-hmm. And I've got a trans brake button on the shifter. Well, like I said earlier, I'm kind of retarded, so I had unplugged them. And I was just checking wiring and stuff. Well, I plugged them in backwards. So I thought I had no bump button, but it was actually my trans brake button was bumped because they're plugged in backwards. And I thought I broke my shit. So Braxton did me a solid and gave me my money back. Just let me pay for testing because it was before first round.
There you go.
But that's my luck.
Yeah. I've done crap like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I first swapped over to a turbo 400, I was on a manual car before that.
Yeah.
I'd never had a trans brake. I never had any of that.
Right.
And I had the car together, I think, 3 days. Mm-hmm. Right. And I took it to Street Car Takeover because, of course, you're going to have a car that's brand new and just take it to a big race.
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah. And staged it in second.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any better. Like, I did my burnout. I popped it into second during my burnout, and I didn't realize I'd done that. I thought I was still in first.
Yeah. So don't ever do a burnout in first gear on a turbo 400.
I'll start it in first, and I pop it to second, third.
Yeah. So it'll actually so I'm sure somebody will correct me on this, but if I'm not mistaken, the drum in first gear, if you can actually overspin the drum, and the drum will explode in a 400.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could just get an LS where you got enough horsepower to start in second.
Or not.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. Mike Graham, who does my transmissions, he actually told me that. I'm pretty sure it's a drum, but the drum, something will come up in first gear. If you overspin it, it'll actually come apart.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we all find our transmission guy and just like,
yeah,
you're like, okay, well,
there's
you're
some
it
good
for
ones.
now.
Yeah, there's some good ones around here too.
Yeah, we had Jason Wicker from
Jason
Wicked
Wicker.
Performance on.
Yep, he's good.
My guy's Ronnie Johnson from RJ's Transmissions. He's retired, doesn't like anybody.
Yeah.
And I bother him until he works on my transmission. And he'll give it back and be like, that's it, not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'll be
you
like,
call him again.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, see you next year. No, you won't. And then next year I'll just show up with my transmission.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Ronnie, I'm back. Fine, bring it in. I love him to death. I'm gonna try and get him on here. I doubt he'll do it, but he's just got so many stories.
Yeah. He's one of them old heads.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's we actually got him to the track one time, and we show up. We're trying to unload the car, and like I turn around to ask him to help with something, and he's just disappeared.
Yeah,
and like a bunch of his old buddies who hadn't seen him in years are like, Ronnie, here you go. He has already somebody's handed him a cigar.
Yeah,
they're smoking.
Yeah, he's done with he's done with you.
He's done with me. And he got there, saw us make one pass, went transmission's good, got in his truck and drove away.
Yeah,
he was out, and I was like, all right, well, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But I'd burned up so many transmissions by that point.
Mike Graham at Virginia Speed, man. So he does mine. He does Kevin. He does Kevin's also. Man, I've never had an issue with this transmission. I've had this thing now for 4 years. Mike's gonna hate me for this, but it's never been freshened up or anything.
New fluid, I'd hope.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally all I've done.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's like, man, it's flawless. Like, never had an issue with it.
Yeah. The last time I got him to refresh it, I was like, it feels a little soft sometimes when it goes into gear.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll fix it. I was like, all right. And after that, you put it in gear, and you can hear the entire car go ka-chunk.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. Well, whatever it was, he fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so one of Ernie's favorite questions to ask people is like, what is the craziest or weirdest thing you ever had to happen trying to get to the track or between rounds?
All right, so this one's so this is back when I had my wagon, so this is actually on the news. So as far as craziest thing that's ever happened, we had a race at Rico, man. We were going to race on the backside of Rico. And I was meeting Sean and D and all them boys were already down there, and I had something to do earlier in the day, so I was late. Well, I was on 95 on the way to the track, and this was on I think it was on a Saturday, and this deal fucked me up for a while. So I was on the way to the track, man. I was on 95 right outside of, on the other side of Benson.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a group of guys on motorcycles. They were actually coming from Rocky Mount. And there was a guy, I guess he was kind of towards, the middle of the group. I would say there was probably about somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 guys. Mm-hmm. And they weren't riding crazy. They were doing, none of them were, doing any, sometimes, man,
no shenanigans were going on.
They were just literally just on a ride,
driving
man.
from point A to point B.
Yeah, and this guy, man, he had a water bottle in a cup holder or whatever, and I think he had picked it up and took a drink of water and sat it back down, and I think he had a stroke, and so I was at the time. I was driving. I had an open car trailer. My wagon was on the back, and I had a cooler in the bed of the truck full of ice water, And man, he had a stroke or something, and laid the bike down and hit a guardrail, and this happened probably 6, 8 cars in front of me, and it cut his arm off, and it was bad. Like I'm not gonna go too far into what he looked like, but man, I pulled over and like I said, I had a cooler in the back of the truck, and one of the guys, man, they grabbed his arm, put it in the cooler. Ambulance. It took like 43 minutes for an ambulance to show up, and man, this was like in the middle of the summer too, and it was probably, man, it was like upper 90s outside, and man, I pulled over and we blocked. This was on like the right hand lane of 95 and right past the bridge, and we blocked his body in with my truck and trailer, and I had a tent in the back of my truck, and it was so hot outside. We put a tent over him. It took 43 minutes for an ambulance to show up, man, and he didn't make it.
I was said y'all like at least tourniquet his arm or anything.
Tried,
like that?
but man, like I said, I mean his brother was there and watched this happen. He messed him up bad. Like even if the ambulance had shown up and like within minutes and got him to the hospital, I don't think he would have made it. He was just in such bad shape. But man, I was there for I don't even know how long. I mean, it felt like forever. And yeah, man, his brother was there and watched the whole thing happen, and he passed away right there. But I actually, one of the guys that he worked with, we about every year, man, when that time of year comes, he'll reach out to me, and they work together, man. And they said this guy's he was just good as gold, man. They say he's just a really good guy, and yeah, man, he passed away like literally right there in front of us, and man, you wouldn't believe, like it was pretty heavy traffic, but the amount of cars that just drove by. Like before we blocked him in, you could see this man laying there, man, and like they're just cars just driving by. Like they just the amount of people that just didn't even care. Like they just kept driving. And there's probably a group of I don't know, probably 10 of us that were behind him that saw it happen, that stopped, and we stayed there. And like, man, it was one of those things, man, kind of like changed your life. There's I don't go to church. I don't really, just not really my thing. But like I watched, there's a lady there, and she prayed over this man for 45 minutes straight until the EMS workers made everybody kind of back up, and we were all holding sheets around so that people driving by couldn't see what them working on him. But man, they worked on this man for, man, I bet they worked on it for like 20 or 30 minutes, and it was rough, man. We got to the track, man. We ended up going to the finals that night, and I didn't go. I don't think I went back down 95. I didn't race at like Thunder Valley or Rico or 710 for 3 or 4 months. There's like a stain on the asphalt right there where it happened. I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, that'll mess you up.
Yeah, I actually at the time, man, I had a motorcycle. I had a Harley. I didn't get back on it. I sold it. I haven't got back on a motorcycle since. Yeah, this guy had a wife. I think he had kids too. I think they were a little bit older, but yeah, man, you see something like that, it kind of like makes you take a step back.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate stuff like that has to happen in our lives for us to actually like stop and think about it, and like take safety seriously. Like,
yeah, well,
how many guys kind of don't take their safety seriously until they see an accident at the track?
Yeah, and I mean, man, we're all guilty of it. We all walk around like nothing could ever happen to us, and then you see something like that, same thing. Like, how many times Tyson's wreck is a perfect example, man. Like, there's plenty of people at Kinston that day when Tyson wrecked, and like, man, everybody knows Tyson. Tyson's, he ain't got no enemies. Nothing. Everybody thinks the world of him, but
I'd still love to have him on here, hear his story about it.
I mean, Tyson was wearing all of his safety equipment. That's why he's still here, you know. But how many people did watch that and went out and started buying safety equipment? Man, I see people at the track all the time that, man, they get in race cars that, like, Dan Taylor. Everybody knows Dan Taylor, man. Dan Taylor getting in a race car, man. He ain't even got a jacket. He don't even wear shoes.
Well, and like this year we've had two kind of bigger incidences that happened. So there was the one down at Fayetteville where the guy from Great Performance lost his life. You know, that wasn't a particularly like fast race car that he was in, but he had nothing on.
Yeah.
He had no safety equipment on.
Right. And you see that more now with the newer cars, like the new generation stuff, like the Chargers and the newer Mustangs and like man, like the newer like Gen 5 Camaros. I mean, like y'all not you, but like, man, they get in these cars and it's like, you know, they think they're safe because they got like airbags and all this stuff, man. But like, man,
these cars have a side impact hard enough. It does not matter if that airbag goes off.
These cars will kill you. Like it.
Well, the other one that happened more recently that's not been talked about as much, which I really feel like should have been. I got some insider information on it from a good source. I'll say it that way. That one that happened up there at Piedmont at the Big Dog race, where the guy hit the wall and it took his arm off.
Yes.
So what ended up happening with that, you know, was he had a steel drive shaft in that thing. Steel drive shaft broke, took out the wishbone in his suspension. When he hit the wall, it knocked him unconscious. And then when the car, and it ripped the door off the car.
Yeah, it didn't have a window in there or something.
And it ricocheted, came back to the wall, and that's when it ripped off his arm.
Yeah.
Right? If he had a window net in there, he would still have his arm.
Which, man,
and if he had a carbon fiber drive shaft, it never would have taken out the wishbone. Like
I'm guilty of that too, though. Like my car, for example, like my car's already been faster than it should have been with the cage that's in it. But like when this car was built, man, it's got like a 6-point Molly cage in it, but it was never supposed to be what it is now. So like obviously over the winter, I'm gonna go ahead and like 850 the cage. I'm gonna put funny car cage and all that stuff in it. But like, man, we do this stuff every day. Like we're all at the track, man. We don't think of window nets because we don't think anything's gonna happen
to us. It's just
gonna
get in the way.
Yeah, we're all guilty of it, dude. Like,
I mean, I ordered a window net, you know, and I'm getting a carbon fiber drive shaft made for the car.
I've got one, and it's not in my car.
Window net or the
yeah. No, I ain't got a carbon drive shaft. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I'm poor.
I mean, I don't want to have to afford it, but So the deal I have with my wife is that, you know, every dollar I spend for Go Fast stuff, you know, I have to spend an equal on safety.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this build is not going to be a perfect 1-to-1 on it, but it's like that's part of the reason it's down for so long is I'm getting way more cage put in it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, we're going to get a carbon fiber drive shaft made for it because, you know, and the whole reason for it, if you don't know, most of you guys do, but the whole reason for a carbon fiber one isn't because it's lighter, is because if it does break, it just turns into dust and like fibers.
They're also like so carbon shafts too. You can actually kind of get away with more on like a nitrous car. So there's a guy in Goldsboro that actually does carbon drive shafts. If I don't know if you know him. I can't remember the name.
I think I've heard of him before.
He did the one that's in my car, but so like on a nitrous car, like if you get a nitrous car that's going like 1.0s, they're a whole lot harder on drive shafts than turbo cars are. So you can actually get away. This guy was explaining this to me, which I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I'm fucking retarded, but you can actually get away with a lot more on a turbo car because they don't hit it. They don't hit the drive shaft as hard as like a nitrous car or a blower car does. But yeah, a carbon shaft literally just like turns into dust when they explode.
Yeah,
they just shatter. Basically,
I remember watching that the Fuel Tech.
Yeah, when
Lewis blew up like 3 in a row.
Yeah, David Brinkley happened on Brinkley's car, I think, didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't Brinkley's car? It happened. Yeah.
Well, I know that Lewis's fuel like Radio versus the World car.
Yeah,
it did it like 3 times in a row.
Well, Brinkley's car exploded when on the dyno up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Brinkley's car.
I know Brinkley's car also exploded against Justin Swanstrom out there at Rockingham.
Yeah.
That was a good race.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, it'd be like that. Yeah. My favorite, I want to get him on the podcast too, talk about that car because, it's the header's going straight up in the air. It is ridiculous. And, my favorite is people like, how do you see? He goes, I don't, but I just aim for the darkness between the fire. Yeah. He goes, I just aim for between the fire and I hope the end of the track's there. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're coming up on time here, brother. Is there anything else that you were wanting to talk about?
I mean,
before we wrap up,
it depends on like how far you want to go into like some of the stuff. Like if you're gonna get Billy on here, like we can go into like some of the personal stuff if you want to, with Billy or whatever. But
I really want to get Billy on here because he is a fun dude. Yeah, he's just a really fun
Billy's
dude.
Good people.
He is good people. It's him and I are gonna race. When I get my car back,
I'm holding his valve cover and his
fuel
cell hostage. I was supposed to bring it today, and I left it at home.
Yeah, he actually told me that I was supposed to tell you to bring it.
I know, I left it at the house.
Yeah,
he's gonna kill me.
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna kill me too because I forgot to remind you to bring it.
I know.
But I love Problem Child.
Yeah,
I know this is technically Problem Child 2, but it's Problem Child. But him and I are gonna race.
Yeah.
And he's like, you keep talking this smack, I'm gonna put the big engine in it.
Yeah, you're gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I'll put a hot tune-up in that deal.
I've seen it with a hot tune-up in it. It doesn't seem to go nowhere.
Nah, we hadn't put nothing in it yet.
Yeah. I don't know.
We've been fighting with that thing, man. Like, so, like, it had, like, it didn't have torque boxes or anything in it, and, like, the way a G-body is set up, the shocks...
It's a Buick Regal that we're talking about.
Yeah, so, like, the way they're set up, like, from the factory, like, the shocks are mounted at an angle, and, like, the shocks that were in it, like, when you've got something that's at an angle like that with the way that the four-link was plotted in the car, the valving in them just wouldn't tighten up enough to slow the car down. So like anytime we would try to go fast with it, it would just
top out the shocks.
Yeah, it would top out the shock and upset the car. So like we put torque boxes in it, and like I put upper and lower boxes in it and redid like the whole housing and everything.
I was like, he got that housing that he really wanted. That was pretty.
Yeah, I put all that stuff on the housing. So, once he gets past softball,
which seems to never end. Like, how many seasons of softball is there?
Like 7.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's the winter season and the second winter season, the spring season, second spring season.
It's like year round.
3 summer seasons.
Yeah, every time I talk to him, he's like, "Oh, we got practice tonight." I'm like, "Bro, what are y'all practicing for next year?"
Yeah, and then of course he's like, "Yo, well, I'm on a softball team now." I was like, why did you join a softball team?"
Yeah, you already said you didn't have time for anything.
Yeah, it's my church's one. It's like, oh, okay,
I know.
Whatever, man.
Might as well just go ahead and sell the car.
Yeah, give it to us. We'll get it down faster than him. Yeah, but yeah, no, we're gonna race, but yeah, we've been talking all sorts of crap to each other, which always gets my wife to laugh.
Yeah.
Anytime us racers, especially when it's in good spirits, and us racers talk crap to each other, my wife thinks it's the funniest.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Your car looks really good in my mirror. Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty, man. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have you back when we have Billy on.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll be a good time. Billy, come on.
Yeah.
Get on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him this week.
Yeah. So, alrighty, man. Do you want us to direct anyone to your social medias? Do you want anyone to friend you or like you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually went on a social media hiatus for like a couple months, but like, Facebook, Instagram, it's all just my name.
Okay.
TikTok, I don't even remember what my TikTok is.
Harry Darnell.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put it right there, the lower third.
Yeah,
and we'll have the picture of your car up here the entire time.
Yep. That'll work.
All right. And as usual, you guys can follow me on Instagram as Nate the Fast Plumber, on my YouTube. We've got some stuff coming up here pretty soon. Not showing too much about the car because I'm trying to keep some of it under wraps. I'm going to have to bleep some of what he said earlier because keeping that under wraps too.
Oops.
Yeah. Thanks, Harry.
My bad. Good thing this ain't live.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have told everyone I was selling you that. Yeah. Yeah. We're making progress is the most I can say. But and Ernie is at 10.5 Life. You can follow him there. Please make sure to drop a like and a subscribe on this episode. And share it, because that's the only way that we grow is that you guys share it with somebody else.
Yep.
So, all righty, guys. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to sign the hood before you head out, brother.
Oh, we got a hood to sign?
There's a hood right here to sign.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next time.